Welcome to One Page Story Extravaganza Livestream with Run C Man. I write and illustrate a one-page story every day based on ideas that come from viewers like you. Maybe today will be your idea. Oh, hi. Okay. I hope everybody's having a good day. It is Tuesday? Yeah. It's Tuesday. How did that happen? I don't make for sure. Alright, so, listen, I got a couple things to show you. It's been a few days. It's been a few days since we last spent time together. But I've got a couple things done. So, this is today's page. I posted, in all honesty, before I would put this page to print, I would do a lot more, coloring per se. Just a lot more, gray toning and stuff like that, putting in some more shadows and things like that. But I got it out for today. But I look at it in hindsight and go, I'd push things a little more, push some of the artwork a little bit more. But I'm pleased with it where it is right now. Hi Linda, hi Tim, welcome aboard. So this is the page that I did for today. Now, Friday, I did robots, and Robots is a 2-page piece about a suggestion from Miriam, which is humans make robots that have human features. What robots make things, what features would they have? And so I did that as a 2-page piece just because I was having a lot of fun. And then I started another 2-page piece, and that's the Old Ladies Coach Tour, which is suggested by our good friend Paula. And based on her mother's adventures that she gets up to each year. So I've been asked on the magic of the interwebs, how did I do some of the gray tone in the page? And what that is Zipatone. It's it's an overlay, an acetate overlay that. So I'll show you. I've got the original page here. And so I'm going to just jump the camera just to show you what we're talking about here. Maybe we'll do a little bit of it today. I'm not entirely sure if I did any of this in a stream before, but this area here, this business here, all of these gray tones, which are little tiny dots, okay, on a sheet of adhesive plastic, and it will adhere to the paper. And so you lay it down as a whole section, and then you trim out with an X-Acto blade the stuff that you don't want covered, and you peel that off. And so, it'll be patterns like this. And so I'll show you what I'm referring to when I say it's a little clear acetate overlay. So this is it. This is you can see my finger through it, but this is the material, and this pattern is phasic lines, but this is what I lay down on top in order to get some of these gray areas, and you can work over top of it in ink. You can work over top of it in paint. You can work over top of it in watercolor. If you saturate it too much, it's going to get wonky, and the Letraset is very likely to pull off. But you can go over top of that. So this page was drawn with a pencil, a single pencil, a single ballpoint pen, and Letraset. And so you can get a broad range of values between these three different things. But you can see the gray from the pencil, the black from the pen, and then there's Letraset layers that are put in here as well. So you can get a lot of different things out of that approach to working on your surface. Letraset, Letraset, or Zipatone, which was another one, Zippatone. And so both of these people produced a myriad assortment of different patterns and things. And so you'll see some lines here. You've got really neat, deep, resonating, sort of dark lattice shape there. Very dark, pixelated area. This is almost like granite, the surface here. You know, it's just a flat gray, you know. Here's a crazy pattern, you know. Like, so there's all kinds of little bits and little styles and of Letraset and Zipatone that you can get. Now, there are stores in Japan that have entire rows, you know, of different types of sheet after sheet after sheet of Zipatone Letraset stuff for you to pick up that will allow you to have all kinds of fantastic effects on your work. So they use that an awful lot in manga. So the second page of the Old Ladies Coach Tour is here. I'm going to plop that back on the screen. Let me jump back to page 1. So there's page 1, Old Ladies Coach Tour, and page 2. And yeah, there's a couple of different fun bits in here. This is what Paula's mother basically gets up to every Christmas holiday. But the term restoratives for mixed drinks came from my wife's friends. So that's very fun. I enjoy doing this page, and they're kicking it up at the end, so that's a lot of fun. Today's page, a lot of heart. Like I said before, I'd rework a little bit more of this, a little more gray in the shadows and stuff like that, give it more depth. But you know, there's nothing to say I won't come back to that. So just a lot of fun to do, and the suggestion for that was a hero that is constantly getting hurt. And so I thought, well, you know, what kind of guy would that be? It'd be a guy who's got a lot of heart. What do we got? Courage. What don't we have? Fame or money. Anyway, so that's the pages for today. I'm waiting for the proof for One Page Volume 2. The intention with One Page Story Extravaganza Volume 2 is that it will be released on Saturday on Amazon, and then I'm not going to be releasing anything else until December. Just I wanted to get a little traction on Amazon by getting a few different things on there for people to look at, and I appreciate the people that have been giving reviews on One Page and on Alphabet Book. And I'm waiting to have my proof so I can have a copy of the proof at the London Comic Con this weekend with me. So hopefully that's going to happen. And in the meantime, I'm going to be pretty busy anyhow. So it's all well and good. But I will be releasing that during the London Comic Con. So fun in the sun. Okay, I've got a couple things that we got a very special show and tell today, folks. I wanted to show you a couple of really cool things. Good friend Doug Rogers has put out a new release. It's called Just a Bunch of Comics. Just a bunch of. It's that should be a word in the dictionary, in my opinion. It's just fantastic work that Doug does, and while it looks like ink wash, watercolor wash, Doug works entirely digital. So all these fantastic granulated textures and things like that, again, that's digital applications that he's using. But this is a bunch of short stories. And I cannot express enough how much of a big fan I am of Doug's work. Strange beliefs that gravity doesn't work until you look down. Good fun. So here's a bit of an autobiographical piece. Here's here's a couple more of his shorts. It's just really a wonderful range of the work that he does. And if you look up samu.press, if you look him up there on the interwebs, and you also look at London, that's where I live, londonaunt.com, Doug.life on Instagram, and you'll see a number of Doug's illustration work, and absolutely, and his strip bits that he does, like for, like every paper should have a editorial cartoon, and so he does a lot of editorial bits for London, Ontario, because our paper's just a generic thing that comes out of Toronto. Why? Corporate overlords. Anyways, so it's absolutely gorgeous work that he does. I really enjoy it, and highly recommend it. Point of view, I don't know. What do you think? So another thing that's been on my mind is a couple of different things. One, I reread Max Brooks' World War Z. Now, I'm not a big zombie guy, and I don't have a visual image to show you for World War Z. I'm not a zombie guy. I'm not a gratuitous horror for gratuitous horror's own sake guy. But Max Brooks' World War Z is fantastic. It's an absolutely fantastic book. And so I bought this. I think we had a sale copy at the store I used to work at, and so I picked it up. And then I found this at Chapters Indigo. This is goes along with World War Z. This is his survival guide, written as though we are existing in the contextual narrative of this world, and so it talks about how to survive in a zombie world in really realistic terms with things that we have to utilize today, that the general practitioner, the general person can utilize today. Anyways, but what this is it follows the epidemiology, the outbreak of a world pandemic. And in this context, it's called the Solanum virus, and it makes everybody become zombies that are affected by it. But it's all about how does a world cope with this situation, and how does it resolve, and it looks at it. And so he wrote this in 2006, I think it was 2006 or 7. This is the son of Mel Brooks, by the way. If you know who Mel Brooks is, the producers and all of these great films. Anyways, History of the World Part 1. I always loved that he just did one part. His son wrote these, and fantastic, absolutely a fantastic writer, and I would like to see more by him. But it's really interesting, this material. But what it sort of came across to me as I enjoy immersive experiences. I enjoy a story with scope that draws you in, and it has its own definable set of rules. It doesn't have to tell you all these rules up front. It exposes you to them as we go along. It ingratiates itself piece by piece to you, and therefore draws you deeper in. And I really enjoy that in storytelling. So I've got a couple of different things I thought I'd show you. This is BPRD. This is a book by Mike Mignola with all kinds of different creators. And this is about the end of the world. This is about if all of these dark, supernatural, end of the world scenarios and the Cthulhian ideas and all of that stuff was to actually take place, and how would mankind cope. And so this collects a great deal of books, and it is an absolutely, it's these moments that are far more important to me than the big supernatural things. The interaction, the engagement between these characters trying to survive. And I really enjoy, this is a huge number of books that are collected here, and I really, really enjoyed this. And again, it's the same sort of scenario where you introduce a story in small elements and small pieces, but it becomes so much of a bigger thing, similar to how that World War Z does. And another example I thought I'd show you is Albert Monte's If I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry, Albert. Universe. And this is another book that draws you in and pulls you inside the story about a character who is just trying to survive the world that he lives in. It's set a bit in the future, but it's all about travel through time and space, and actions have consequences. And as you move along, it introduces things in nice little parcels so that you get more and more carried on with the story. It's a hard thing when you right out of the gate. It's like when you're given too much information. It's like when you try to watch a film, and if you don't understand the larger pieces of said film, like you don't understand the Jedis and the Siths, and you don't understand for the Star Wars thing, or why are these guys fighting, and Lord of the Rings and all of this, why is that guy so gross and creepy, and he calls this little ring as precious, and like it's all, it's awkward for people that are just trying to step into these world buildings, and so if there are, look at me stand still. Sorry. If there are opportunities for you to be able to take a project like this that's huge and deep and immersive, and sort of slide your way into it, that's where they hook you. So, hi Jim, welcome on board. So the other thing I want to show you is this, and if you've ever concerned yourself about how big a nerd is Chris, yeah, I'm a pretty big nerd. This is a series of essays written on the Legion of Superheroes comic book that goes back to 1958. It's really dorky. Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, Ultra Boy, Phantom Girl. It's bonkers silly. And they used to, in the earliest days of it, they actually had their names written on their shirts. In the late 1950s, early 1960s, and then they dropped that quickly. But this is essays over the different iterations that this book has had over the years, and these big story moments, and how these essays interpret those different actions over time, and the development of the characters, and all kinds of things like this. So, but what it really talks about is behind the scenes, and the creative process, and ideas of the poignancy of myth and story and things like that. Just really, if you're interested in reading on the process of making, this is a genius series of essays. If you're not familiar entirely with all of the characters and the stories and so forth, I don't know if it resonates the same, but I find that a lot of these introduce the characters in such a way as to be very open to allowing people to step into this world and understand where they're standing. So I've really enjoyed reading this. It's edited by Timothy Callahan. There's a number of different essays that are included in here, and boy, I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun, an absolute lot of fun. So to go through this, and so it's a kind of book that you can open up at one essay or another, and it gives you a different look at a chronological point of the continuity of something that goes from 1958 to today. Just to give an example, these characters are sort of running in a limbo right now because there's multiple different iterations of them in publication simultaneously right now. They're different worlds, including animated films, their own television show. They're all incongruent from one another. They're all the same characters, the different interpretations of them across all of these different media. But they can't settle on one because everybody has to do their own spin. Well, they just showed up at the back of a book based on the Justice Society of America. they've traveled through time in order to deal with a bad guy who's hiding amongst the good guys. And this is an iteration of them from 10 years ago. You know. So it's an ongoing thing, but it just talks about the complexity of all that and how that can be very confusing to a new reader that wants to step into a project. It's hard enough that you want to just read a block of story of, and step into this world without it having to be this ongoing convoluted continuity that goes on in different iterations. They've had five times they've rebooted the whole thing and tried to reinterpret everything, but using the same people again, basically. Nonsense. But anyways, I just want to show you some of those things and talk about the depth of world building and the joy that is, that when you come across those scenarios, to just jump in there and have a good time with those projects and allow yourself to just escape a little bit, I really, of course, I'm clearly a big fan of that. If you don't keep an eye on me, I'm gonna run away from here right now. So the other thing I want to talk about, I'll be at Fanshawe College next week, I think it's the week after that, and I'll be at Fanshawe College for a little convention that they're having there, and I'll be talking about storytelling at Fanshawe. That'll be fun. A bunch of people and doing some live one-page story. Jim asked, do any of your events at the convention, do any of your official events at the convention be filmed for YouTube? So on Friday, thanks for asking, Jim. On Saturday, Saturday at 2:30, I will be doing a live stream. Hopefully it'll work. I don't know what their internet is going to be like at the convention, so hopefully that will work. If it doesn't, it's okay. It'll still be recorded so that I can put it on as a video after. But I'll be doing a live stream at the con as I'm doing a little talk about storytelling and working on a one page right then and there. And then on Sunday at 2 o'clock, I'll be doing it again. So 2:30 on Saturday, EST, and Eastern Standard Time, not estimated. And then 2 o'clock on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, thanks for asking, Jim. And aside from that, I will be, being silly through the course of the weekend, as I do. We've got a bunch of things set up, like drawing battles between different creators. It's just two people drawing side by side, and I just talked to Bill Plimpton. Will do one of the involved in that. I'll be involved in that. A number of other people. Derek Latimer will be there. Doug Rogers, who I just showed you his new release. He'll be engaged in that. Owen Boyd, Andrew Thomas. It's just a lot of fun creators. So, okay, I've got a big sheet of paper here. A pencil and the will to make some pictures. So I got to pull a suggestion out of the book. If anybody has a one-page story idea, that they want to suggest, or 3 words, or whatever comes to mind, please feel free to put it in the chat if we're live, the comments if this is not live for you. We'll see what we can do. Okay, so I've got to check off Old Lady's doing a coach tour from Paula. Check. Tell me more about this Bill Plimpton guy. He did a film with a guy named Jim Lujan called Revengeance. And fantastic. Jim, fantastic animator. Bill, fantastic animator. Both great writers. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to try to. This is the intent is to have official animation guest each year, and I got somebody in mind for next year. I'll tell you right now. Okay, so what do we got? We got Memory Lane for Grandpa. have I ever drawn a Mandela effect comic strip? Okay, let's do that. I try not to think too much about these things before I get cracking on them, because the more that I do, it takes away the spontaneity of it. It takes away the immediate, I guess joy is the word I'm looking for. Of, here's the notion, let's go. So as soon as a thought comes in the slightest piece of interest for me, really, I'm all about getting to work right away. Without, I don't want to plan things in advance. Oftentimes you'll see where I'll sit down and I will do a quick. I can thumbnail out where the page is going to go, but I generally don't do that off the cuff an awful lot. And that's because I want it to have, looking for tape, I want it to have a sort of immediacy to it. So we're going to go after this Mandela effect. And the reason that I picked this one for today is, as soon as I read it, I immediately had a visual idea pop into my head. Immediately. And I want to keep that going. I want to keep that fresh and utilize that. So, hiya, video glitch. Oh. Is there a video glitch, or is somebody here named Video Glitch? Yeah, it's the YouTubes. I got nothing else on right now, so it should just be fine. I don't know why it would glitch other than YouTube. YouTube is a temperamental turkey. So I say that with all the love and respect in the world, YouTube. It's not real. Okay, so I'm going to draw. I can never get protractors to work correctly for me. I don't know about other people, but I always have the darndest time not having them, extend out farther, and my circles not match up, and things like that. So we're going to see what we can do here. But I'll zoom in so you can actually see the marks being made. Video glitch is the handle. See, that popped up on Linda's screen before it did on mine. That's fantastic. Welcome aboard, Video Glitch. Such a great name. Coffee Man foils a bank robbery. Oh my goodness, thank you. I'm sorry I missed that too. Let's write that down. Coffee Man foils a bank robbery. I was talking with my brother-in-law the other day about absurd superheroes, and he was talking about Coffee Man. That's so great, I brought coffee. That would be his whole handle. Coffee Man foils a bank robbery. Video glitch. Fantastic. Okay, it's in the book. In the book. So we'll get on that one. All right. So Linda's just asking what handle Video Glitch goes by. It's interesting. It came up in Linda's feed before it did in mine. And I have live chat on before this turns into a thing. I've put the live chat on, Chris, and do this thing and stand on your head. All right, so with the idea of a Mandela effect comic. So this is a suggestion from Chris K. So the immediate visual that came to mind is a series of concentric rings that I now have to have the story take place in. But this can lead us to have a fantastic opportunity here. And that fantastic opportunity could very well be that I now have to figure out how to transition the story and to carry the reader around the page. So, I like a challenge, folks. Thank you for your suggestion, Video Glitch, by the way. Appreciate that. You're very welcome. Let's see if I can get one more circle out of this. And then I'll pull the camera back out and we'll get working. Get to work, Chris! You know what? It's now too wide for it, so I will just manually draw the next one in. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 rings along the outside. And then a little sort of gap space beside that. So the Mandela Effect comic is what we're doing here. I'm going to actually flip it around this way. VG also stands for very good. Okay, so I've got a pencil here. Let's think of Mandela effects, folks. What can anybody think of any examples of Mandela effect? Berenstein Bears. That's kind of boring. I guess we'll just go to the source of it, right? Nelson Mandela. So let's just start with Nelson Mandela, and then we'll continue on. Just give me a second here. Sorry, I'm trying to. All right, so I'm going to put the zoom on, and then we'll pull in, and let's get making some waffles. All right. All right, so if I've got a number of rings, okay, that all go back into the center here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, and it's going to be harder to see in the zoom, but that's just so you can see the drawing part. But what I'm going to try to do is to carry the story around in such a way as to enable the reader to follow, despite the fact that the panel shapes are going to be as absurd as they are. So I thought right off the hop, let's just draw. Is that coming through? Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's just draw Nelson Mandela in. He's going to draw me in the first panel. Yeah, there you go. Terrible Mandela impression. You're welcome. It's because the theory of this term is a number of people suggest that they remember hearing that Mandela passed away, and they had a big funeral service for him and everything else, and he hadn't passed away. But a lot of people seem to remember of that having taken place, and so that's why the term is the Mandela effect. Now, there's a number of other things, like the spelling of Looney Tunes, or Berenstain Bears, the spelling of those books. I like ones that, you can actually go, no, that's real. Disney has re-edited a whole bunch of its early properties, and because some of that was just racially inappropriate, the depictions of characters, and so they retooled those so they could continue releasing those things into syndication. And I remember somebody cited those one time as a Mandela effect, and I said, no, unfortunately, those are real. Yeah, you would think that, no, they wouldn't have done that. No, they did terrible depictions of people of different ethnicities in terrible, terrible ways. So I'm having him just give the old Mandela wave here, and so this is going to be in this first tier, the introductory panel area. And so right off the hop, I want to just establish a solid visual And that will sort of allow us some place to explain the concept in and of itself, the Mandela effect and what that is. And by having a visual depiction of Nelson Mandela, oh, that guy. Because, you know, history is something that we don't all follow. You know, it's, it's not, a lot of people like to live in the moment. They're not worried about history. I say leave history behind you. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. So, I'm just drawing Mandela in the space, and I'm deciding right now whether or not I'm going to have any bleed over of images over the lines, because I enjoy doing things like that. It sort of adds a little bit of dramatic visual interest to the page, but at the same time it can also heighten some tension when you have characters crossing over from panel to panel. It can expedite some movement. The page I did today, the Lot of Heart page, it oops, I'm so sorry. This page has characters breaking into the next panel repeatedly and overlapping the panels repeatedly, and just in order to keep a sense of progression or a sense of movement. So that can be really handy, handy to do that in your storytelling. And if you're trying to figure out a way to have a bunch of people yakety yakking, but at the same time still get a sense of momentum in your story, well, that's one of the ways that you can do it. Interesting panels, interesting actions in said panels. So, tonight, 11 o'clock EST, Jim is going to be doing a video talking about his creative process. And as he's finishing, he's getting to the end stretch here of his new film, The Full Fungus. So if you're interested in independent film, independent animation process therein, check out that tonight. All right, so I'm just trying to put some lines that add a little bit of shape, a three-dimensional shape language to our drawing a mandala, so that you get a sense of how the drapery might move by putting in some of these lines here that move across this bottom part of the arm. Everybody has different approaches on how they'll draw that. Well, you just saw mine. Okay, so I need a drink. I'm always interested if anybody's got stuff they're working on, they want to tell anyone, please feel free to do so. Inquiring minds want to know. Feel free to pass on the information. Unless it's really debaucherous, really depraved stuff. Oh my gosh. But I don't expect that. Anyways. We got a good bunch of eggs here. Eggs? So I'm finding that line, that outside edge line, and so I'm getting closer to it as I'm drawing this image here. And this is where I need to ask myself this honest question, since I don't have a pre-layout on the page and I'm just working on the moment and making it up as I go along. I haven't pre-decided whether or not this character of Mandela is going to lead over into the other panel. Now, if he does, let's say this tape represents the whole image of Mandela, and it steps across into this second panel. Then the reader, their automatic response is going to be to follow into this part of the shape immediately. They just are, right? That's how it works. Is that your eye will just look for the name, the next form, the next shape, the next division as it follows function. So if we place him standing across, we do his portrait across this span, then that's what's going to happen. That'll be the outcome. That'll be the result, which I think can add us some an interesting effect here, as opposed to just sticking within this field. Now, when in the coloring, if I'm going to color this page, I can have a color shift following this design, the linear design of the concentric rings. I can shift that up so his jacket color changes, things like that. But just try to stay open and receptive to those possibilities. Well, how you doing, Marsh? Welcome aboard. Showed a couple of cool books at the start, Marsh. You might find some interest in there, sir. Okay, so because his arm moves over to this second line, and I'm going to actually choose to cut it there, just because we want the reader to progress into this panel shape. I love these erasers. I got them at a dollar store. I thought that they were actually sculpting tools, and they weren't. They were erasers, but they are really good erasers. So we're drawing our Nelson Mandela. Putting his flower in his pocket. Well, I think it's actually on his lapel, but there he is. So I'm not putting in a lot of solid values here. Like I'm doing a little bit of, intermediate cross-hatching here, but not a lot of solid values. Just, we'll work that up as we go along. Find more and more progressively dark areas. There we are. So we've got most of his form through here now. So for my own interest, I may well draw this last little piece of the arm into the next panel. We'll see. We'll see. Depends on the style language. If this reads as a break into the next form, then if I put it halfway across this one, it's just a break here as well. And just so that's that the person following the arrow of the break. Or do we allow them to move up that way naturally with their own eye? So questions. How's the rest of it go? Questions. Okay. Gotta draw this fellow's face here. Just thinking about here. And I daydream all the time. And so I started daydreaming about something completely like Just a random idea that popped into my head for a short story. Nothing to do with what we're doing. But I find that closing my eyes helps me visualize stuff, so I'll go, oh. If I do that, though, and I don't write it down, that idea's gone, and I'll just wait for it to come around again. But that tends to be part of my process on how I visualize things, too, or think about story ideas, is that I just sort of keep this card catalog up in the old noggin there. Craft it in your head first, and you remember all the ins and outs of it. Okay, so here's Mr. Mandela coming along. But we're missing a major part of this here, and that is his face, his head. Just trying to find the right bend in that, his mouth there. And that's just the craziest eraser. Just making sure I'm not missing stuff there, folks. Just for those of you who are stopping in today. You're saying, hello! Hello! So I've got a little, so when I do source images, I tend to do little squares, and to not get really detailed images in front of me, because you start focusing too much on these little pieces of information, these little details, when you've got this high def image of whatever you're working from. Nothing says high def as reality, having the actual physical thing there, but I don't rely too much on that object analysis. Allow yourself to try to think about that in your head. What parts are on a fire truck? Oh yeah, that alarm and the bell. It tells us where we can go with our story. So I find that as you can lay your drawing in one value, but if you're going to apply color to it, that's where you can really see the dimensional depth of something. Is because that color activates the push and pull principle of light colors in the foreground, dark colors in the back, or vice versa, depending on which way you approach it. Yeah, I'm just trying to find those features as we move up here. So I think it may well just be a straight line across at the bottom of this figure as drawn. Yeah, an interesting receding hairline, this kid. The old ears in there. Yeah, so you can see the shape of it coming through, starting to come through anyways. Da 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 da, boom, that, bow. May well raise his brow line, but... So with a page like this, I'm drawing right to the exterior edge of all of the panels. Now, recently I did one diagonal, and that said diagonal comic was turned so that it moved in this direction on a diagonal axis, and all the panels ran across, pardon me, across the center. So big old diagonal book. But you could read it looking at it horizontally and realize that, oh yeah, my eye's going that way. It's fine. That's a tricky thing to think about. While you're working, while you're doing the Watusi. Why are you flashing? Okay. So I'm just trying to get some of these shapes of his features in. Try to catch some of that emotion. Eyebrows do an awful lot for that for us. And then this is where, as I move along in the illustration, I realize, oh, I shouldn't have put that helmet on him. Well, the hair. There we go. And the last is the hairline. Yeah, I just extended it up a little bit more. Tidy that up. There we go. Okay, so we've got the start of our Martin Luther King. Sorry, not Martin Luther King. I'm so sorry for that. Our Mandela, our Nelson Mandela. I'm trying to keep that idea in my head because I read something about Martin Luther King in a one page, and you know, again, I want to keep it fresh in my head, so try not to. I try to stick to one at hand, the one that I'm working on today. You know, and then things like painting signs and doing illustration work for others, and I do Sunday drawings, and I'm still listening. It's just, you know, Lori takes the notes and I do the drawing. So I realized last night I have 44 of these things, and that's probably a lot. It's funny how that creeps up on you, a number like 44. Okay, sorry, I just get caught up in my head as I'm... So I think I'm going to put this angular line here, just to sort of give him some interesting visual shape to him. So, whoops, I'm so sorry. I meant to switch to this one. There we go. So on the full page, there's our Nelson Mandela. Here is the start of the first circle, and I'm gonna, there we go. So carry that over down below. So now I think I would do some, you know, some different shapes behind him. Maybe the flashing lights of television interviewers. So I've got a bunch more videos I'm going to start putting out again, more one-page story extravaganzas. I appreciate people's patience about getting those out. The one-page story extravaganza read-alongs are me being silly and making silly voices and reading my pages. You know, Lori's doing some too, which is exciting. So I'm just finding some shapes. So here's an idea to think about in executing a page. if something's in the foreground, something's in the midground, something's in the background, there's 3 different value approaches that you can have. But it's a combination of white, gray, and black. Or black, gray, and white. And so when you're doing a drawing, and the next stage after doing the penciling part would be to go to an inking stage in traditional comics, or even digital is just switching something to do with the file. But I want to get a whole bunch of different bits and greebles and baubles and things in the background to give a sense of, oh, this is a complex thing. But there's a question to ask of, if the foreground has little details, which really kind of make it very light, and the background has far more details going on to it. If I really want to step that one more, I might want to push something outside that frame of reference that goes even a little bit farther back. But if I use white here, basically I'm saying white because it's the least amount of lines, whereas this shapes, the shapes and the things that are going to be in here would be that gray. Now I could be really cheeky and go and put another circle here and just do this as black stars, and that sort of. But by doing these different, picking something up. By doing these different planes to it, you separate your foreground, your midground, your background. And it's whatever combination of those 3, black, white, and gray. Or as I tend to call it, intermediate value. So I'm drawing nondescript. Now, you could figure it out depending on how the application of color goes on what these things really are behind the character that I actually just want you to focus on. But I got to get this drawing on. So I'm not overly thinking about the logistics of how they came to be here. So because I'm writing the story as I'm doing the drawing part, so. Is that on the cuff or off the cuff? I think that's off the cuff. So we've got some fun things happening up in this. Well, I'm going to move this paper that I'm drawing on top of. Just have the one sheet. So I'm going to fill in this volume. Push that back out. I'm going to jump over the zoom so we can get a better look at that. What I'm referring to. So here is, you can start to see the sectioning of the circle. Right here now with this drawing. It follows the circle of the interior frame of reference, and it also at the same time defines itself separately from other story engagements, other writers. Okay, so I'm just going to put some more little bits that are there when you go into the bus depot or the bus station. You expect a bus to look a certain way, but the bus might, but the people that are on it won't, right? Okay, so just gonna do a little bit more just to bring this around, and then I'm gonna have to decide, what do we do with this space under this panel? Is this going to be, we're going to try to get the reader to go around the story page like this and end up. There's the ending space right here is in this bottom corner section by the bottom of the circle. These are the questions to ask ourselves as we go along. There. Alright, that's coming together. Just trying to get this. There we go. Area covered by the doctors, or I'm sorry, I think he was a doctor. Honorary doctor. So what's behind him really doesn't matter. It's just interesting, out of focus, you know. I lost my thought there. Oh, thank you, Linda. Linda says, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Tell the whole bunch. And then here's, I cut that over the top of the white space and behind it. And then, there we go. Okay, so here's our first panel with our first character. Now, I've been thinking about this as I go along in the drawing of it. What am I going to do with this lower space? And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line across the center, or the center as to where the middle of the circle is. And we'll call that galactic center. Sounds good, doesn't it? Okay. So we're going to put this line, whoops, I'm so sorry. I'm going to put this line across the bottom here. And then we can fill this area in with our colored pencil in this context. But that your black ink. There we go. So this is probably going to take a little more time. So I'm just filling in this small piece, and I'll pull the camera back out again so you can see this in a larger context. Just deciding on which way the line should go. Overlapping lines, you know, can present to you a really nice opportunity for cross-hatching, but at the same time, you can overkill it as well. Okay, so here's our first panel. Pull the camera back out, zoom out. So this is the page overall. It's 11 by 17, and here's our first panel drawn in, which is of Nelson Mandela saying, "Thank you very much, everyone, for having." He's just got a high voice. So as we start talking about the Mandela effect, we're going to introduce it with the Nelson Mandela, you know. So we got a good start. So this panel is where I'll go next. And so I need to find this story idea, and I should really stop. Make sure that no panels cross over the center access point of the page. Just because. It's good to set some kind of structure into place. So I'm going to put this line here. Now, I'm not putting this line across all of these concentric circles because I don't know that I'm not going to move panels around as though it was some sort of clockwork mechanism that works in its own time, you know. Alright, so if anybody can think of any other Mandela effects, please put them in the comments for this video. Alright, that feels good. It feels like a good start. I'll just pull in and... So here is our first character. I know it's a person, but you know what I mean. So I think Looney Tunes is another one of these Mandela effects, is that people remember the name Looney Tunes being spelled in different ways. I'm just checking to see what those might be. Well, it's not going to say the competitor ones. So I'm going to take this old Looney Tunes logo, and which is another circular device, and I will put it. I will utilize some of that here. But before I do so, I want to see if I can find what they think their spelling is. Because the official spelling of Looney Tunes is L-O-O-N-I-E-Y. So, I can take our... Where did I put the ring mechanism? So I can create some circles in there and put the logo. Well, so I'm just going to hand draw it. Why not? So it's the start of the word loony that I'm putting down now. Okay. That's my eraser. So I'm redoing the Looney Tunes logo. Now, L-O-O-N-E-Y is the real one. L-O-O-N-I-E, or something, some variation therein, is the Mandela effect one. No, I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Absolute conviction when people do that. A little bit. So we're going to have to put IE for this and then see if people notice it. I think I want that and to peek out just a little bit more. There we go. IE. And then part of me, because I'm a sentimental, sappy guy, thought about maybe I'll get little toys in the other room that we have for the kids. I'm doing this wrong. I started to square off a letter, and it's a rounded shape. And then I'm going to cut that into Looney. I'm not saying people that have memory loss are crazy. I'm just using another example of a Mandela effect. So here's our Looney. Another thing I'm enjoying doing a lot lately is that every time I talk about a film, I talk about it as a documentary. Don't ask why, I just do it. Makes me happy. I mean, not out in open public, but... So here is the other part of the word going in. Yeah. My phone is over here buzzing at me. There we go. So there's tunes. Now, I could pop Looney Tunes over here into this next panel as well, and to continue this progression. But there's a part of me that's debating that. See, I did it again. I was going to draw a squared off version of the letter E. Force of habit. There we go. So this is going to go into the next panel. I might have somebody putting this up, you know, as though they're wallpapering a wall or something like that. We'll see. There we go, Looney Tunes. So the logo of Looney Tunes has a whole bunch of circles as well, so I'll put those circles in behind it. Alright, yeah, so let me pull back out. So here's the start of today's page. Is that going to help at all? No. That'll help. Trying to get rid of that glare. So here's the start of today's page. There's our first panel, and the form cuts into the next panel. Ideally, it has you read this way. So I put Looney Tunes, the Looney Tunes logo, so that I can talk about how, you know, people remember cartoons specific ways, and they've actually been changed since, and fun stuff like that. But I'll just keep on keeping on, and I don't want to give it away too much because I like the idea of the surprises of how to do a comic across the circle. So that'll be about it for me today. I'll be back on Thursday for sure to do a stream, and then it'll be Saturday and Sunday this weekend. I'll be doing streams at 2:30 and 2 o'clock, and then Thursday's stream is at 2. And I hope that's of interest to people, and you come out and join us and throw some one-page story ideas or 3, you know, words from the English alphabet or a random piece of dialogue, you know, and send them to me in the comments or in chats or on any of the social media posts that I do, and I will put them in the book and I will work on them forthwith. Linda says, thanks for coming. Thank you. Oh, well, thank you very much, Linda. Thank you, everybody that came out. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Linda, for being my moderator. And I will be back on Thursday at 2 p.m. EST. This will be posted for tomorrow on all the social media. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Bye for now, folks. Thank you very much.